Wake up, wake up. No, it's not a Monday. No, it's not a Friday. It's a Tuesday. It's a Tuesday, July 8th, but you got to wake up anyway, so why not wake up with us? Welcome to Wake Up as we talk all things Niners as the countdown to camp has begun. Let's go.
A day late, but never a dollar short. I mean, that's got to be Wake Up's motto right there. Welcome, Damon Bruce, Larry Krueger. It's great to see you once again, both on the Krug Show and over on the Plus. Please like and subscribe to both channels if you would, and it is really good to have you here. It's great to see you again. Larry was on assignment yesterday morning, so he wasn't able to do a Monday. I said, let's just push this back to Tuesday. We don't have that much to get into today, Larry. I like to call this month the calm before the storm. I mean, that's really where we are. It feels like every month of the year comes with like an NFL reaction. You get the 4 or 5 months of the regular season where you're reacting to every game. Then you react to the playoffs. Then you react to bowing out of the playoffs. Then you react to what went wrong for about a month. Then you turn your attention to free agency. Then it's the draft. Who's going to get drafted? Then you react to the draft. Then you get to minicamp. Now we're here, and now we're just waiting for the real thing to start. We are in the final stretch, brother. 61 days until kickoff in Seattle. Technically, that's less than 2 months, baby.
It's on. It's on. And by the way, on the Krug Show, of course, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. I was at a game the other day, and I'm walking down the corridor, and a guy yells at me, or the guy sees me, and he goes, "Hey, it's you." He didn't say my name. He goes, "Hey, it's you." And I said, it is me. Which I thought was a kind of a funny response. You know, I thought it was worth a chuckle. I said, "It is me. It's actually me." And the guy goes, you're, and then I go, and I was about to say my name, and he goes, "Pig in a Pickle." He just yelled, "You're Pig in a Pickle."
Not Larry Krueger from YouTube, not Larry Krueger from the radio, not Larry Krueger from a 20-year career covering Bay Area sports. You're Larry Krueger from Pig in a Pickle.
Not as my mom named me coming out of the womb, Lawrence Edward Krueger, not Lawrence Edward. Not, hey, you know what? You grew up your entire life in San Francisco, and I remember you from Stewart Hall, from St. Ignatius, from Sac State. No, none of it. It's all Pig in a Pickle. So thanks to Pig in a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Also thanks to Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles there at 205 Cypress Avenue in Pacific Grove, California, on the Monterey Peninsula. My good friend Anthony Catania, who will be down there at training camp. Hopefully I'll get a chance to introduce Anthony to you, Damon. Anthony's at 831-521-5264, and he's a great follow on the gram, as the kids would say, at Sharp Corners 831. And we have a link to all of our sponsors in the description below. And Damon, of course, you can thank whatever sponsors you want to thank before we get rolling here.
Let me just tell you about Ike's Sandwiches. This is a place where you want to go get a sandwich today, boys and girls. Go get yourself a sandwich from Ike's. Anything that could be on your mind, believe me, it's on his menu as well. He will put the kitchen sink on a sandwich just for you if that's the way you want to order it. So thanks very much to Ike's. Thanks very much to the Dubliner West Portal, my kind of bar if there ever was one. And Larry, let's see. When I was at the ballpark, my best, hey, it's you moment. Let's just say I was at a Pink Floyd concert, Roger Waters' The Wall. I was in, let's just call it an altered state. And I'm in the bathroom and a guy comes up to me. He's like, "Are you Damon Bruce?" I'm like, "Not tonight." No. We are not talking about any Giants lineup tonight. We are here to watch Pink Floyd, which means don't talk to me. Anyways,
well, let's get right into it because we don't have anything truly urgent. You know, as Damon, you know, as you appropriately said off the start of the show, you know, the NFL season like never really sleeps, but that's kind of a misnomer. It does kind of go to bed between May 15th and July 15th. I would say if you were associated with the NFL like intricately or on a day-to-day basis and you just said, "Hey, you know what? My wife wants to know when we can plan our vacation. Plan it between May 15th and July 15th. If you do that, you're going to do, like Kev went to Europe last year during this time. I went to Connecticut. Heck, you did the cow camp. I mean, people will take a week or two. Cam Inman, I think, is traveling internationally. I've seen some of his pictures. This is a great time to get away. And it's a great time for the coaches to spend time with their family. It's a great time for the players to kind of hone in on their training because they're getting close to their Super Bowl Sunday for a lot of the undrafted players and the young guys. But it leaves us in this kind of 2-month period where we're creating stories. And the one thing you and I do not ever want to do when we're doing this is we're not here to insult your intelligence, and we're not here to create stories that aren't really stories. I'd rather just not do a video or not do a live stream than try to create something. So some of the comments in the last few weeks from people saying, "Oh, this is clickbait stuff." It's like, no, it isn't. No, it isn't. Believe me, if we're talking about it, it's worthy of talking about. Now, have you
want to know what clickbait is, Larry? I got the ultimate headline that was clickbait.
There's one today, probably.
So it's the worst headline of the offseason. Athlon Sports, you're the guilty party. It said CMC receives some unfortunate news on Monday.
Yeah, clickbait.
For a guy that has had so many injuries, that is so important to the upcoming season, I was like, oh no, what did he hurt himself in a workout? Did he twist an ankle? What's now? And it was Christian McCaffrey is no longer the top-ranked running back in all of football. He's fallen to number 5. This is just a terrible headline to attach to that, you sons of bitches. You got me. You made me click on it. Screw you.
But you don't like doing that. I mean, I don't like it. You don't like it. Nobody likes it. I get it all the time when I'm surfing either 49ers compilation sites or just searching under 49ers. When I Google it, there'll be some headline that makes it seem like Ayuk's on the verge of being dealt, when we all know that Ayuk's not on the verge of being dealt.
And so, you know what also drives me nuts, Larry? The regurgitated that, like Mike Cadlick of Sports Illustrated has named the 49ers as one of the best potential trade destinations for Commander star receiver Terry McLaurin. Yeah. Oh, really, Mike? Because
get in line. We've been doing that for a while.
Everybody for the last 6.5 weeks, the regurgitated news offered up as new news is also a major, major break from reality when it comes to this time of the year in NFL news cycle.
So anyway, that kind of leads us to today's show, because we're right inside the window. It's July the 8th. Camp will get rolling in about 2 weeks. Rookies report on the 15th. And which I think is the first day rookies can report. The veterans report on the 22nd. I think the first workout will be the 23rd or 24th. And then, of course, I'll be there for every step of the way, every practice, every presser, everything. So that's kind of why.
And I'll be there for some of the steps of the way.
You'll be there for some of it.
Lunatic.
Right, exactly. I'll say this. I have spent this month, now that I'm back from vacation, getting in shape. I mean, literally running, treadmilling, lifting. I'm at my pre-marriage lifting weights. I put up 225 5 times this week. I'm getting back into it. So I'm decided, you know what? I'm 55. Training camp is not easy. And now I'm not taking any hits, but it is not easy even for people on the sidelines. You're out there in the blazing sun day after day after day for hours and hours and hours. They're long hours. They're early meetings, late days, light nighttime streams, tons of sun, and just a lot. There's a lot there. And obviously, you guys know me. I put a lot into it.
Are you training for a content creator combine that I haven't been made aware of yet?
I'm just training. I'm just training because I want to be in, the best shape I can possibly be in by week 1. The grind of the NFL season, the grind of camp, though. It's just a lot of hours. It's a lot of sun. It's a lot of hours. So anyway, I've been working out. I've been lifting, I've been jogging, I've been running, I've been walking, I've been stairmastering, I've been, so if you see me and you say, Krug, you're out of shape, imagine what I was 3 weeks ago. Just think about it that way. But anyway, we want to get into some topics, but we don't want to make them contrived. But there was a pretty good conversation between our friend Guy Haberman and Brent Jones on Guy's channel. And Brent Jones believes that Ricky Pearsall's fast finish last year, where he had 210 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns over the final 2 games, is just the beginning. Here was the quote from Brent. He says, his last couple of games, you could kind of tell it started to click for him. His route running was more precise. He was sharp in and out of cuts, catching the ball, gaining confidence. And it was like, wow, that was super impressive. Just to know that he finished the year strong, that can really catapult a guy with that confidence, even with that minimal success, into the offseason and into the season coming up. So he said, do not sleep on this guy. In fact, we'll share the screen. We'll play this real quick. Here is Brent Jones with Guy Haberman. I didn't realize there was an audio component, but here it is. Okay, let's see here. There we go. And there we go. And
great hair on Haberman, always.
Here we go. Here is a little Brent Jones.
I want to ask you about Ricky Pearsall because, and I don't know to what degree it's comparable, but you were in a very serious car accident your rookie year. I hope you don't mind me asking about it.
No.
You got hit. You and your wife got hit head on by a drunk driver driving the wrong direction.
Yes.
And it cost you your rookie season with the Steelers, which few people realize. And Ricky got shot. I mean, he's laying there on the street in San Francisco thinking he might die. And amazingly, he was able to come back and play last year and finish the year strong. But did you think when you saw that situation unfolding, did it remind you in any way of what you went through?
It did. And obviously I wasn't shot. That was a little bit more serious than my car accident, although it was frightening at the time, the car accident. But getting shot and thinking, gosh, the young guy's career could be taken away before it even started. But he was diligent. And what people don't realize is he had to put in the work the whole time he was recovering, because when he first came back and he wasn't making much of an impact, but he was great that he was out there. I was like, wow, fantastic. But his last couple games, you could kind of tell it started to click for him. And his route running was more precise. He was sharp in and out of cuts, catching the ball, gaining confidence. And it was like, wow, that was super impressive. Just to know that he finished the year strong. And I mean, that can really catapult a guy with that confidence and with that, even minimal success into the offseason and into the season coming up. And I'm glad you brought up his name, because I kind of look for him to really be a big contributor this year. And so what a special young man to be able to fight back from all that, because I mean, you don't even, at the time, you're like not even worried about football. Like, hey, man, I hope he's going to be okay.
So that was a little bit of Brent with Guy Haberman, and it's a 4-minute clip, so we won't play the whole clip. But but let's talk a little bit about Ricky Pearsall, because that's kind of the launch point for our discussion. And the question is what. We all know it's his time for him to step up. There is no Debo. Ayuk's not going to play till November. I mean, we can all say it. It's no sharper take. If you say it, I say it, Brent says it. I think we've all said it many times this offseason. It's time for Ricky Pearsall to step up. The question is, can he? And if he does, what potentially could that look like?
Well, Larry, I mean, I certainly hope he can. To me, the first thing I think of is we start talking about what Ricky Pearsall means to this team. I say, go sign Keenan Allen, because I don't know what Ricky Pearsall is. I don't know, and you don't know, and I'm not sure he knows or even the Niners know. We all know the difficult situations that began the year. He did play in 11 games, 31 catches, 400 yards, 3 touchdowns. Not really an impact until the very, very end. It does take wide receivers and Kyle Shanahan's offense a while to catch on. And if their learning curve isn't quickly, we've seen Kyle abandon hope in young wide receivers before. I like the fact that Shanahan is almost handcuffed to making Ricky Pearsall happen, because he's going to have to leave him out on the field, whether it's working or not, just based on the numbers game. Again, this is why I would maybe sign Keenan Allen if I'm the 49ers. I mean, I'm rooting like hell for the guy. The story's incredible. He seems to be a good young man cut from the right cloth. His parents, who I've heard from, reacting to the very scary situation he was involved with, seem like good parents. I mean, there's nothing to not like about Ricky Pearsall other than the production of his rookie season, which we want to grade generously on the curve of how odd it started. As you said, the opportunity to get on the field and do something is all over that 49ers room. Somebody's going to need to do something from that position, and I really hope that it's him. We're about to find out. He is going to be handed more responsibility in the first 5 weeks of this season than I think, Shanahan was planning on handing him at any point in time during season number 2. This is a big year for him because the reps and the dependency on needing him to do something, it's all out there. So if it doesn't happen for Pearsall early on, I don't know if he's going to have like one of those, oh yeah, and in the second half of the year, it all started clicking. He's going to get his opportunity to shine early. And if he does, hopefully that continues throughout the rest of the year. But it's a fool's errand trying to predict what young wide receivers might do in Kyle Shanahan's offense. He is very fickle with the amount of leash that all of them get.
All receivers tend to get better from year 1 to year 2. The question is how much better and how much can they depend on him? And, you're talking about Keenan Allen. And Keenan Allen's got a great name. Amari Cooper's got a great name. These guys all have
pretty good production, too. Keenan Allen had good production last year in a varying, odd Chicago Bears situation.
Yeah, I personally I like the way the Niners are playing it right now, which is don't do anything right now going into camp. Now, we'll see. Maybe they aren't going to play it that way. Maybe they'll sign somebody, between now and the beginning of camp. But I kind of sense that they are not going to bring anybody in going into this camp. Why? Well, just on a numbers game, they have Pearsall and Jennings and Demarcus Robinson. Obviously, no Debo. Ayuk won't be there for a while. So those are their top 3
and Demarcus
guys.
Robinson won't even be there in the first handful of weeks, depending on...
He won't be there. He won't be there for the first 3 games because of the DUI. But then you also have Jordan Watkins, who was your 4th-round pick this year, who you badly want to make the team. You have Jacob Cowing, who was your 4th-round pick last year, who I also think they think is going to be on this team. So there's, technically you've got 5 receivers right there. Some teams only go with 5. Then you also have Junior Bergen. You also have Isaiah Hodgins, and you also have Isaiah Nair. Now you have other guys besides that, but I don't believe in the other guys at all, really. So I'll just say those 9 guys battling for, 8 guys if you want to take Ayuk out.
6 spots
battling for 5 spots, maybe 6 spots. There will not be a 7th spot. So, Bergen says he's going to be a Hall of Famer, or that's his goal. Nair is a crazy athlete, undrafted player who they paid a premium to sign. So they want to give those guys a shot. I think Isaiah Hodgins is kind of the insurance plan. Cowing, Watkins, Jennings, and Pearsall, and Robinson are going to be on. So I think they're kind of loaded. I think if they look at, hey, if we signed Amari, if we signed Keenan, we might be blocking the roster for Bergen or Nair, and what if those guys look great? Or what if Cowing or Watkins and look amazing, and Nair and Bergen look fantastic? I mean, they just don't want to block a younger player. Now, I already asked the question. What is this time about in between May and July? How does everybody use their time? Well, as I said, the coaches are with their families trying to get some quality time before they basically, say, hey, you're secondary. The head coach and the coordinators are usually vacationing somewhere. The players are training or vacationing, depending what their status is on the team. The scouts, though, and I was one of them. This is a very important time for the scouts because, like, if you're a pro personnel scout, you're going to get a question from the pro personnel director at some point. Hey, we need a player at this position. Who's the best out there? Right? So there is no website where you can go to bestoutthere.com and just click a button and get a list.
It's a pretty good idea, Larry. You should get on that. You should start that website, bestoutthere.com.
Bestoutthere.com. Yeah, somebody's taking that idea right now and running with it. They just wait a second. You can't get that name anymore for some reason. No, but like I did this exercise the other day with wide receivers, and basically I just went around because I can see what you're talking about and see the opportunity, and I know there's a bunch of teams that have a bunch of wide receivers, and everybody's going to keep 5 or 6. So go look at every depth chart and see who's got more than 5 or 6, and then if they've got more than 7 or 8. Now you probably have a situation where you might be able to pick off somebody. And I found 3 teams that were super loaded at wide receiver: Green Bay, the Jets, and the Chiefs. So I would be looking at Green Bay, the Jets, and the Chiefs, as well as a handful of other individual players. Nick Nash, who's in Atlanta from San Jose State. Kendrick Bourne, who the former Niners in New England, most likely going to get cut. Laviska Shenault in Buffalo. He's very versatile, like Debo, kick returner, running back, wide receiver. He potentially could get cut.
Jacksonville, right? Laviska.
He was in Jacksonville. He's now in Buffalo. But Brendan Rice from the Chargers, Jerry's kid. Chargers brought in a lot of receivers. He very easily could wind up getting cut. So those are just a few of the names.
You got a man crush on Malachi Corley too. You've been talking about him.
Well, I've been talking. Yeah, Corley, Bo Melton from Green Bay, and Elijah Badger would be my 3 biggest targets. Elijah Badger is a rookie from Florida who's from South Sacramento, went to Folsom High School, basically did Ricky Pearsall. He went ASU and then transferred to Florida. And he finished up at Florida, and he's really underrated. And he went undrafted, and the Chiefs signed him. But the Chiefs also, Damon, just looking at their depth chart at wide receiver, Kansas City has Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown, Rashee Rice. They just drafted Jalen Royals in the 4th round. They have Juju Smith-Schuster, Sky Moore, Justin Ross, and others before you get to Elijah Badger. So I think there's a very good chance that Badger's going to look good in the preseason, not make the team. Chiefs are going to try to slide him onto their practice squad. And if I were the 49ers, I'd pick him off on the way to the practice squad. And I will do these deep dives positional-wise for a few spots, like corner, defensive end, quarterback, defensive tackle. I'll be doing another one later today with Sam Batesh. Sammy and I are streaming at 11. We'll talk quarterbacks, and I'll go through my quarterback list of how the league is positioned quarterback-wise and who might get cut at the end and how it all may shake out.
A little bit of actual NFL news today coming out of Atlanta that for the first time, I guess, in the Netflix series quarterback, you've got Kirk Cousins basically going public with, I didn't really think they were going to be drafting Penix in the 1st round, and I'm not super thrilled about it. Like, he says all the right things at the end, saying, nothing is given, everything is earned in this league. But it's the first crack in the armor of Cousins being happy about this situation.
Yeah, nobody thought he would be. Penix made him a backup quarterback, and to this moment, he's still a backup quarterback. So we'll see. And that is one of the interesting quarterback discussions that we'll have today at 11 with Sammy. But as far as the Niners are concerned, there's a lot of pressure on Ricky Pearsall to step in and be a contributor. This 49er offense, has Brock Purdy. He looks really good. Some people feel like the line is a little deeper. You've got a healthy McCaffrey now, and you've got Jennings with some experience and Cowing with some experience. And I think, we're either Pearsall is going to step up and going to be pretty good, or the Niners are going to take a step back because it's not like there's lots of other starting caliber receivers ready to step in. So it's a big year for him.
It's a huge year. I know that we wanted to lean into who's got the most pressure. Well, pressure comes in a lot of different flavors, doesn't it? Pressure for Ricky Pearsall isn't just to go out and produce and have a good year, but to prove to himself he really is a guy who's a starting wide receiver in this league. You know, somebody as established as George Kittle is facing the pressure of the sand in the hourglass of his career starting to run out. You know, I mean, how many more bites at the you really have a shot to win a Super Bowl does a guy like George Kittle have? Christian McCaffrey, who's totally bona fide, is one of the best football players I've ever seen with my own two eyes. He's got the pressure of, can you get it back? Can you bounce back? Can you be half as good as you were in 2023 and give the 49ers, 14 touchdowns instead of 21? Can you be the guy who is the difference in the red zone, and the difference in the red zone was the difference in the 49ers going to the playoffs or not last year? That and a questionable defense. Robert Saleh, the failed head coach, but promised to be an elite defensive coordinator. He's under pressure to get a whole bunch of these young guys, get their sea legs underneath him quickly. So there's pressure on absolutely everybody in the NFL. There's no one living a pressureless existence, not even Brock Purdy, who of course is, you're under pressure no matter what as a quarterback. Now he's going to come with the, there's no price point talking about what a bargain you are. As a matter of fact, you're going to be crucified on your new price point because of what you just got paid. So you got the pressure of living up to that contract now. This is why we love the NFL, by the way. It's relentless. I mean, every single week is a referendum on a career, on a season, on a player's ability to be trusted. It's why we are completely addicted to this league above and beyond all the rest of them. So, I was reading a really interesting article. The one bit of newsworthy got my mind jogging how it's going to all play out was, what was it? I think it was Niners Nation did an article about, safety Jason Pinnock, who's got a 1-year deal here, who's been a bit of a journeyman, who really thinks that this is finally going to click for him. And he thinks he's going to be the starter. And you know what? Jair Brown and Malik Mustafa both think of them as starters, I'm sure. Then you got Richie Grant here on a 1-year deal. You got George Odom sticking around. How about this? I don't know if there's a team in football that provides more opportunity to move up or off the depth chart than the 49ers do at safety and at wide receiver. Basically you're starting 11 on both sides of the ball is pretty easy to identify everywhere. For the 49ers, it's not so easy at those two positions. You can lean into it, but if you want snaps, they're there at safety. And if you want snaps, they're there at wide receiver for the San Francisco 49ers. So if you're on this team, you got all the pressure in the world to carve out a career for yourself, because you can do it on this team. There's a lot of undetermined things still.
Well, there's going to be a lot of competition. I mean, that's just the bottom line. I mean, there's pressure on Trent Williams to show that he's still Trent Williams. There's pressure on Jake Brendel. I mean, to me, they didn't have anybody last year who could at all take Brendel's job. Now they do. Matt Hennessy is an experienced center, and you could make an argument that he's better than Brendel. And then you also have Drake Nugent now in year 2. So there's a lot of pressure on Brendel to, play at a whatever level he can play at. I think there's a lot of pressure on Ben Bartch. I mean, Ben Bartch is been in the league for a number of years, but he doesn't have that many games played because he didn't stay healthy. So can he stay healthy? There's a lot of pressure on Spencer Burford, who's moving from guard to tackle because he really didn't have a lot of success at guard. And we're going to find out if he's got quick enough feet to play tackle. And if he doesn't, he's going to wind up getting cut. So there's a lot of pressure on Mac Jones, I think, to hold off Tanner Mordecai. And people would say, well, come on, it's Tanner Mordecai. Yeah, but Mac Jones doesn't know the offense. Mordecai does. Mordecai's got the bigger arm. Mordecai's got the better speed. So Mordecai's got a better skill set than Mac Jones, and he's been in the offense longer. So if Mac Jones is going to somehow beat out Tanner Mordecai, I mean, he's got all the advantages. If he beats him out, he's going to be the number 2. If it's even, he's going to get that number 2 job. even if he's slightly worse than Tanner Mordecai, I think Mac Jones will still be QB2. He's just got to not be way worse than Tanner Mordecai, because if he's way worse than Tanner Mordecai, then I think Mordecai is 2. And then in that scenario, Mac Jones could be gone, because I think the same way that Trey Lance was, they didn't want to keep Trey Lance around as a $9 million third stringer. They're not going to keep Mac Jones around as a $5 million third stringer. So if he's either going to be number 2 or Mordecai's going to be number 2, Mac Jones can be somewhere else. So I think there's a lot of pressure on Mac Jones. I think there's a lot of pressure on Christian McCaffrey. It's like he's a great player, but it's also time for the 49ers to play these other backs and to utilize Guerendo and Jordan James and Corey Kiner and Izzy Abinakanda. It's time to see some of these other guys. I mean, the bottom line is you haven't gotten to the Super Bowl with a healthy CMC. You're probably not going to win unless you do. And to play him every single game, beginning, middle, and end, and just let him call the shots. I mean, he's always going to want to be on the field, so they're going to have to protect him from himself.
Christian needs to be sold the less is more equation from you. And it, protecting him from unnecessary contact in low leverage, down distance situations, game in hand, game got away from the 49ers. You're not going to be winning this one. Get him off the field unless it's a big play. I did a live stream yesterday.
Forget when they're going to lose, when they're going to win. See, when they're going to win, that's when they got to get him off the field. When it's the fourth quarter and they're beating the Carolina Panthers by 12. And last year in that same scenario, Christian's out there for every freaking snap. Don't put games away using Christian. Put games away using some other back.
That's the fourth quarter.
I think it's vitally important. If they cannot find another non-McCaffrey back to put games away with, I think the odds of him being healthy in the playoffs and in the Super Bowl, if they can reach that level, are not good. So to me, if I'm Shanahan, I want a plan that is sustainable and is going to work all the way through the season. And to me, that is turning Christian, wow, he's amazing, into Christian and Guerendo are an amazing combo. Look, that's what the story's got to be.
If he's back in the top 10, top 5 running back conversation, everything that you want to have happen to the 49ers this season is happening. And I think that, asking him to go out and duplicate what he did in 2023, that's not going to happen. That was nearly 2,000 yards from scrimmage, 1,400 on the ground, 600 in the air, 21 total touchdowns. Last season, he only appeared in 4 games, no touchdowns, 200 rushing yards, about 150 receiving yards. And that was the difference in the 49ers last year. And you can get into, the offensive line, blah, 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 the defense, blah, blah, blah. The difference was with Christian McCaffrey, the 49ers are a real contender. Without him, they were not. So how do you meet that in the middle? How do you get somewhere in between 400 and 1,400 yards? Well, Isaac Guerendo is a way to do that. And I do think Guerendo isn't just needed to keep McCaffrey healthy, but Guerendo's a weapon unto himself. And getting these guys on the field together, I think, is going to be a schematic strategic advantage that this team needs to start exploring. It's time for Kyle to get creative again. As creative as he was in the years that unleashed Debo as the do-everything player that he was for a while there, I want to see that invested into Guerendo and McCaffrey, and I want to see it inside the red zone. Because that's where the entire season was washed away last year, Larry. It was in the red zone.
I mean, just get Guerendo involved more. He's 6 feet. He's 220. He runs 4.33. Last year, you threw him 16 targets. He caught 15 passes. He averaged 10.1 yards per catch, which is a huge number for a running back. By comparison, McCaffrey last year averaged 9.7 yards per catch. So this guy averaged 10.1 per catch. He's one of the most explosive players on the roster. He's a threat to score every time he touches the ball. This guy can be a better version of Debo. if they just get him the rock. So I got to see. To me, it is going to be, coaching malpractice if Garendo is not a major star this year. Garendo has got to touch the football. He's got to touch it a lot. Now, you mentioned Pinnock. The safety position is going to be very interesting. You've got Malik Mustafa and Jair Brown. You signed Richie Grant and Jason Pinnock. All four of those guys potentially could start. Then you also have George Odom, who's a very good special teamer. You have a second-year safety in Jalen Mahoney, and you have a rookie in Marquise Siegel, who they have high hopes for. So, usually you keep 10 DBs, maybe 5 or 6 corners, and 4 or 5 safeties. I don't know when Mustafa's coming back, but I think it looks like he's coming back relatively soon. He's the best safety you got, so it's like, who can you pair with him? I think probably the best combination of safeties is probably Mustafa and Pinnock, because Mustafa is a hitter, and he's like another linebacker. He's like a in the box safety. He's really comfortable closer to the line of scrimmage. And Pinnock's a former corner who can play the deep middle and cover 3. He can play coverage down the field. So to me, if you said how the safety position going to shake out, I don't know, because there's a lot of unknowns here. And Grant looked good, and Siegel's got a lot of talent, and Odom's a very valuable special teamer. But I would guess Mustafa and Pinnock are your 1s. Brown and Richie Grant are your 2s.
I want the guys in there who understand the scheme and where to be. Physical mistakes, I can live with those, Larry. That's just football. Sometimes you get beat. Sometimes you miss a tackle. Those are physical mistakes. That's life. What I cannot live with, and what the 49ers cannot live with, and another thing that sunk their year last year under Nick Sorensen, was communication mistakes. That's full on unacceptable. And that's what Robert Saleh was brought in to fix. So no matter who's back there, no matter what combination it is, they got to be communicating with each other. They can't get lost in coverage and in schemes and not knowing who was supposed to, roll over to where. I mean, there were times last year where they looked confused because they didn't know what to do. And that's Robert Saleh's number one job this year, is to improve that pass rush and to make sure that the secondary knows what the hell it's doing before the ball's even snapped.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. The Niners, when Saleh was here last time, were a cover 3, Seattle copy defensively. But now teams are going to more 2 high safety looks. The cover 3 is not totally extinct, but it's not used nearly as much. So yeah, I think it's important that they're really good in the middle of the field. And Malik Mustafa, I think, is a really solid player, but Pinnock is also needed because they haven't had that really good coverage player since Jimmy Ward left. And that's, to me, is going to have to. That's a major thing.
By the way, Larry, I know we usually save supers to the end, but I just want to click on this real quick because Chris, it's not the amen, Damon, but thank you. Red zone failures affected everything. You're so right. You're so right. I mean, that's where the entire season was lost. Now, there's so much more always going on with everything. It's never one thing in football, but
I mean, you're dead last on special teams. So,
that didn't help.
I mean, you can't. Here's the thing: you don't have to be the best team in football at every area, but if you're the worst team in an area, that's bad. Almost nobody wins championships being the worst at anything.
Well,
so the 49ers were dead last in wide receiver separation. They were dead last in special teams. They were not good at stopping the run. So I mean, they had like 3 or 4 vitally crucial downfalls last year.
I think all of those shortcomings would have been survivable events had they just scored points. I mean, that's just, they forgot to score points last year, which was a tough thing to overcome when all the rest of that is going wrong. And you talk about, you don't want to be the worst. You don't want to be the second to worst. You and I talked about this every freaking week last year about not being able to score and bully the line of scrimmage in the low red zone. 5 worst running back rushing offenses inside the 5-yard line last season. This is from Warren Sharp. The worst in the league. EPA per rush was the Giants. They were minus 1.02 EPA. In other words, the Giants, when they were inside the 5-yard line, took more points off the board than they scored. Second worst at 31 was the 49ers at minus 0.46 expected points added. And that's unsurvivable. When everything else is going wrong, if you can't punch in touchdowns, you're in a lot of trouble. So that's where the 49ers were awful last year.
Warren Sharp ranks the 49ers running back room as the 6th best running back room in the sport. So they have Lions 1, he has Lions 1, Eagles 2, Falcons 3, Ravens 4, Dolphins 5, Niners 6. So the Niners, according to Warren Sharp, have the 6th best running back room in the entire league, and yet they couldn't run on the goal line. So it's not the running backs.
By the way, if I can plug a little something, Warren Sharp will be on my channel tomorrow. So looking forward to catching up with him, doing a video, and putting it out tomorrow night.
Nice. Good get. 5 worst running back rushing offenses inside the 5-yard line. The 49ers, 31st. Wow. I mean, that can't be. I mean, that, if you want to win a championship, you have to be able to score touchdowns in the red zone. I mean, look at the difference between the Niners and the Eagles. The Eagles run the ball with success on the goal line and in the red zone and get to 4th and short and run it again. The 49ers abandon the run, are trying all these little gimmicky short passes, and then when it gets to, 2nd and short, 3rd and short, they don't even run at all. They quit running. They're passing on 2nd and goal from the 4. They're passing on 3rd and goal from the 4. Where the Eagles are running the ball on 2nd and goal from the 4. They're running it again on 3rd and goal. They're running it again on 4th and goal if they need to. And it's going to be, you're going to have to be so much better than them in every other phase if you're going to give them that advantage. So that can't continue. You're going to have to do a better job at stopping the run. When you're playing teams like that, you're going to have to do a much better job of running the ball in the low red zone. And this pass. And it's like, well, Shanahan's the play caller, so it's on him. But I'm convinced, coaching around and play calling around the weaknesses of his football team, which then it starts to become like a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's like, you want to know what's an easy coach to scout? The coach that is just, reacting to the failings of his football team, because then once you know what his football team's failings are, you pretty much know how he's going to call the game. He doesn't believe in his interior offensive line. Right.
But at the same time, you got to double down on what works and avoid doing what doesn't. Like I can't.
I mean, this is a franchise that will tell you at the presser that the center is great and that their interior is really good and they love their line and blah blah blah. But then in the game, when it's time to talk with your action, they'll pass on 2nd and goal from the 3 and 3rd and goal from the 4. I mean, so it's like, well, wait a second, is your center really good or not? Because you're not running the ball in obvious running situations on the goal line. Right. And it looks like you're trying to prevent your center from getting blown up and you from, getting blown up behind it. So I don't get it.
We got our own 2 eyes telling us something's wrong here. We got the plays you're calling admitting something wrong here. Then you got your press conference where you're insisting there's nothing wrong here. And then you go to your Pro Football Focus scores, and that is a neutral party telling you something's wrong here. So you might want to do something about that in the draft. Oh, they didn't. You might want to do something about that in free agency. Oh, they didn't. So I really hope they're right and it comes together. Again, it was a much maligned offensive line. It was not as bad as we claim it to be. But again, it gets worse when you have so much red zone failure. And red zone failure and a lack of Christian McCaffrey are the 2 single biggest reasons why last year was stuck in the mud. I really mean it, man.
To me, it's the same thing. I mean, their red zone failure is a lot of it attributable to not having Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah,
their red zone struggles are, but it's more than that too, because it's also the line, and they didn't have a lot of speed. I mean, if you don't have speed at wide receiver, then you can't. You're either going to beat people with speed, power, or play design, and they're not able to beat you with power. They didn't have a lot of speed. So then it was all about, I'll beat you in short areas on play design, and you just can't do it. You just can't do it. You're not going to fool teams week after week after week. Just not going to happen.
I'm so ready for football. I can't wait until we get out of the speculation business and into the reacting to what we just saw business. That is my favorite time of year. And again, we got training camp opening a week from now. Rookies, veterans, entire team reports. At the end of the month, we get our first NFL preseason game. We got 49ers and Broncos with joint practices and then their preseason game. The 49ers will have another joint practice with the Raiders at one point this year, and those are valuable. You know, we've seen coaches, especially Kyle Shanahan, talk about how much those joint practices give him an opportunity to really work through some things, and they're more valuable than the actual preseason game itself. And we know that the 49ers weren't able to even participate in a joint practice last year due to injuries. So stay healthy going into the year. Go get a big week 1 over Sam Darnold win up in Seattle in week 1 and start this season out on a good note. I got a little bit of a note here, Larry, that I thought was interesting. It wasn't about the Niners, but you know, for the 49ers to be back in the postseason, that means the team that was in it last year has got to get out of it. History says fade the Detroit Lions, even though Warren Sharp just, ranked them the number 1 backfield in the NFL. The Lions lost Ben Johnson to the Bears and Aaron Glenn to the Jets. And even with that great offensive line and all their playmakers and a lot of talent and the fact that we absolutely love Dan Campbell, there's no doubt.
Doesn't matter if you have 1 ass cheek and 3 toes. I will beat your ass.
But history's got bad news for the Lions here. Since the merger in 1970, there have been 18 division champions who have lost both coordinators. 13 of those teams followed that up with a losing record. 4 teams actually improved and only 1 stayed the same. So odds are this is going to be a tougher season on the Lions than they might even be expecting. Dan Campbell did an awful lot to change the culture, but culture needs good coaching, and he had a lot of it on both sides of the ball. Is Dan Campbell more than a fist pumper? Are the Lions ready to replace the offensive creative genius of Ben Johnson? We'll all find out soon enough, but the Lions could be one of those teams that a lot of people think, oh yeah, pencil them in to have another great year. I don't know about that, man. You lose that much coaching, it matters. It really does.
Yeah. Do you know who their new offensive coordinator is?
No, not off the top of my head.
It's John Morton, and their new defensive coordinator is Kelvin Shepard. They lost Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson, and they replaced him with John Morton and Kelvin Shepard.
Johnny
the other
Morton,
thing,
former wide receiver, Johnny Morton? No.
I don't think so. One other thing that I think is kind of interesting on this Lions team, when I did the quarterback deep dive exercise, and I went through every team in pro football, it quickly came to quickly showed itself that the 2 teams in the NFC that absolutely would be crushed by losing their starting quarterback, which is a crushing move. It's a crushing move if you lose your starting quarterback, right? But it's not the same for every team. So I'll give you an example. If the Rams lose their starting quarterback, do you know who the backup is?
Jimmy G?
It's Jimmy G. If Sam Darnold loses his job, the backup's Drew Lock or Jalen Milroe. If Brock loses his job, the backup's Mac Jones or Tanner Mordecai. I mean, you can go right down the list. I mean, if Philadelphia, if they lose Jalen Hurts, they've got Tanner McKee. If Dallas loses Dak Prescott, they go to Joe Milton. But if Detroit loses Jared Goff, they're done. And because their backup quarterbacks are Hendon Hooker and Kyle Allen. And it's just they just don't have anything approaching a quarterback they could win with there. And you look at this, they lost Ragnow.
I mean, Hendon Hooker was that feels like 3 years ago. He had a good year at Tennessee and then tore ACLs and hasn't really been heard of since.
I mean, he was a third-round pick in 2023 draft. But, I mean, they lost Frank Ragnow, their all-pro center. So they have a rookie starting at center in front of Goff. Their line still has Taylor Decker and Penei Sewell, but it's not quite the same line as it was in the interior. Now you have Christian Mahogany, Tate Rutledge, and Graham Glasgow inside, and that's if there are no injuries. So my point is just this: if Tampa with Baker Mayfield and Detroit with Jared Goff, I mean Baker Mayfield goes down, they're leaning on Kyle Trask. I mean it's going to be ugly. Goff does not move all that well. Now his number one offensive lineman right in front of him is gone. And they're in a division where Minnesota loaded up on the defensive front. The Bears have as well. Green Bay's got a good defensive line. I think this is a year where Goff could get knocked out. And if Goff gets knocked out, it's good night. Good night, Lions.
I mean, that's the rule across the board. I mean,
but it's not. It's not. I mean, like, if the Chiefs lose Mahomes, they can go to Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew can win games for you. You can still go to the playoffs if you win games. And then when Mahomes comes back, you've got Mahomes. But they don't. If you don't have a quarterback that you can win games with, like if you go look at the league, most of the teams do. Justin Fields has Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah.
Josh Allen doesn't. He has Mitchell Trubisky. But like Miami's got Zach Wilson backing up. Baltimore's kind of naked. If Lamar goes down, they have Cooper Rush and Devin Leary. But like Cincinnati's got Jake Browning behind Joe Flacco. There's some interesting ones out there. I mean, there's
look at this comment right here, Larry. Wallbang, who's going with a Thomas the Train engine avatar, says, so they trade for Cousins if Goff goes down. And that is a little bit of a wild card that is out there for the entire NFL. The first team that loses a starting quarterback calls Atlanta that day, don't they? If it's early enough in the year, and you got the cap room to make that move and make that trade.
It's just, yes. I mean, you would make that trade. The question is, is that going to save your season or not? But you need to have some other backup plan at quarterback. You can't just be like, we're just going to go with our guy. Because when your guy goes down, then you got nothing and your season's over. Now, most seasons are over for most quarterbacks, but for most teams that lose their starter. But you got to have somebody you can win some games with. And Sammy now will go through it at 11. Let's hit some supers here. We got this one from Dale. Love that you do the least wild speculation.
This is we're not. I mean,
we'll speculate. We'll speculate with anybody, but the bottom line is I want to have people watch the channel, but I don't need to make stuff up to get them to watch it.
Did you see one of the headlines out there today was wild 7-team trade that could land the Niners a quarterback? Like, I didn't even click on that. Like, no, I'm not interested in that. No.
Where was that? I didn't even see it.
On the interwebs.
Thomas Selman says, good afternoon from East Coast. Did you all see Purdy on Bussin'? He made Taylor Lewan eat his words. I did not see Purdy on Bussin' with the boys on Barstool.
We'll try to get you that Ike's in Georgia, by the way, expanding ever eastward. Hopefully, I mean, he's already in Louisiana. Maybe you can get to Georgia soon enough. Cover the SEC. I have not seen that yet. I think that's going to be my afternoon. What'd you do today? I might have lunch. I might order myself a sandwich from Ike's and watch that podcast.
The other thing I want to hit before we get out of here, Nicholas McGee has an article on Niners Nation, and it's the adjoining article to which offensive players are under the most pressure, and this is which defensive players under the most pressure. And I really do agree with his assessment here. He's got Jair Brown, D. Winters, and Mikael Williams. And I think that's pretty. I think that's pretty spot on. I mean, Mikael Williams was the 11th pick in the draft. He's a higher draft pick than almost everybody on the entire roster outside of Nick Bosa. And so they're expecting Mikael Williams to step in.
And not a lot of pressure on him, as far as I'm concerned.
Sure, but I mean, he's already getting paid, and he's Nick's playing at a pretty high level. This is a guy who was a first-round draft choice, and a lot of it was based on traits. So let's see it. We're going to have to see it. And then D. Winters, Nick Martin is right there, and Nick Martin's good. So I think D. Winters is under a lot of pressure to keep his job. And then Jair Brown backslid last year. And there's a lot of Niner fans. It's funny. I don't get this. I can't get this like high and low so quickly. I really like Jair Brown. I realize he didn't have a great leap forward in 2024. If anything, he was in and out of the lineup down the stretch. He had some injuries. He kind of backslid, and that's kind of why they brought in Jason Pinnock and Richie Grant. But I think Jair Brown he's a good football player, but yeah, there's no question. Jair Brown, D. Winters, Mikael Williams, I think are three good football players who are under tremendous pressure to produce.
I bet you they're thrilled that Nick Sorensen is no longer dictating how they're going to go out and play. I mean, I don't mean to put it all on Nick Sorensen. I really don't. But just the step up in coaching that Robert Saleh gives will hopefully be what bridges the gap between some of these guys and what you thought they were going to be and what they might actually be. Progress is not linear. It isn't. Sometimes you take steps backwards. Jack was potty trained by the time he was 3. I got a near 4-year-old who's still wetting his pants. Progress is not linear. We go 2 weeks with no potty accidents, and then, gosh, shit, here's a potty accident. I thought we were over that. So I'm basically looking at everything through the prism of potty training still in my life.
I was going to say that's quite the connection.
It is. I didn't want to bring everyone there, but it's just the world I'm living in. So let me share my world with you.
I mean, young Ozzy deserves better. I mean, he deserves better than to have his laundry put out there.
Me and Jillian deserve a little bit better, if you don't mind me saying. Fair enough. J49 TMI, Damon. Fair enough. How about this? We'll leave you with something else then. And I did want to get this onto the show because he's a person that you and I both, I think, got to know a little bit as hosts. I felt when I took over Sports Phone so many years ago, one of the Bay Area is accepting me phone calls that I got was from Raider Mort. And I talked about this on my show, but we didn't have a show a little bit yesterday, so I wanted to bring it up today. Raider Mort passed away. He was a legendary sports talk caller, a legendary Raiders fan who I think has even been inducted in Canton as like their number one.
He's in the Hall of Fame.
He's in the Hall of Fame. And he was a Hall of Fame guy. He's a San Jose State guy. I went down to a couple Sparty games. He was always there, always offering me a beer and a bratwurst when I would see him in the parking lot. Just a super guy who passed away. Sadly, he drowned in his own backyard. I don't know how it happened. It's incredibly sad. JT the Brick, really good friends with the guy. He's all broken up. And I just think that we needed to say, rest in peace, Raider Mort. Very sad to hear of his passing. And what a classy move it was, Larry, from the Raiders. I've never seen a team like officially issue a press release about a fan passing away, but the Raiders did for Raider Mort. And it was pretty poignant, and Raider Mort would have loved that. He would have loved that the Raiders issued a press release about him. I hope that news got to him up in heaven. I really do. So just wanted to, end the show today with a rest in peace to a guy who was, I think, a part of both of our careers as a caller, Larry.
I mean, he's a friend. I've known Raider Mort for years and years. Spent many nights at Ricky's in San Leandro hanging with Raider Mort. His name is Steve, by the way. His name was Steve Mortara. Yeah. And he just went by Raider Mort. And I know JT the Brick was really close with him. He's the ultimate. He was inducted into the NFL Visa Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. As a as a fan. But he was a tremendous athlete in his own right. He was a school teacher. He was a bar owner. He was a friend to
Just a
so
great
many.
guy. Friendly guy.
The chairman of the board of Raider Nation, for sure. Raider Mort, really, really good dude. Really, really good dude. And just, had great enthusiasm for the Raiders, great knowledge of the Raider history. He was, he was a fixture at all the tailgaters, and you'd see him at the games. He had some of the greatest Raider jackets. The guy could spin yarns and tell stories, and just a great guy. Just a great guy. So major loss for sure. Rest in peace, Raider Mort. We're thinking of you, bro. That's going to do it for us. So
we'll be back on Friday, Larry.
We're back on Friday. I'm back in 45 minutes with Sam Batesh, and we're going to talk about the quarterback position and, do the deep dive around the league and talk about where the interesting quarterback competitions are going to be this year, who's set, who's not set, how that position is going to impact this entire year. We'll hit that at 11. But that does it for Wake Up. Damon, I'll give you the final word before we pull the ripcord and get out of here.
Yeah, I will be talking about Draymond calling out the terrible CBA that has ruined NBA free agency. Every single team in this league has made a move except the Golden State Warriors when it comes to adding someone. And I'm going to be talking about that, and I'm going to be doing a short show. I will not be wasting anybody's time because I got to go downtown and get a little eye exam. I'm getting some new glasses, Larry, so I'll be able to see how in great shape you are in better vivid detail, because I'll be able to see you better with a new prescription and some new glasses that'll be coming soon. So that's my day today. Thanks to everyone for watching. Really, really appreciate it. Like and subscribe to both channels if you would, please, on your way out the door. And thanks so much for being here. We'll be back on Friday with another Wake Up at 9 a.m. West Coast.
Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Thanks to Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles for sponsoring this video. Have a great rest of your Tuesday. For Damon, I'm Larry. Peace.